Hey, good evening, guys. This is Mark here at JTech, and today we're going to talk a little bit about water pumps. And what we're going to do is, for demonstration purposes, we're going to use the water pump off the front of a 5.7 liter Dodge 2500 pickup. I have the timing cover and everything off, as you can see right here, with the water pump mounted on it. It's loosely mounted so that we can turn around and take it off and look at it from the inside. And what we're going to discuss today is kind of how to tell when a water pump is going bad, and to also see if you hear noise or something inside and behind the water pump between the pump and the timing cover, that you can kind of see what might be going on. So hopefully I can help you out a little bit. So I'm going to set this back down. I'm going to go ahead and start taking this water pump off here. We've only got it held on by 3 bolts because, like I said, it's just a mock-up that we're using off of an engine that we've already got torn apart. And so what we're going to do is pull this off and show you basically what's behind a 5.7 water pump and the timing in the timing chain cover. One of the biggest things on a water pump is a lot of times you'll either get a little bit of bearing noise that you can hear, kind of a loud rolling bearing noise or a hum, and a lot of times you can also, depending on the manufacturer, but generally in the front you'll also have a weep hole that sets underneath or in some particular area. On this particular water pump, our weep hole is setting right there where the light is pointing. It's hard to see with this tube in place, but there's a weep hole here. And if you've got a seal leak of some sort, that weep hole is one of the first things that you'll see that'll give a tattletale sign that you have a leak. You'll have coolant. You get a sweet smell inside your car, or you can smell it on the outside of your car. Obviously, you can look on the ground and see what color the fluid is. If it's in the summer, you got to be mindful that you may have a little bit of condensation coming out of your air conditioner if you've been running it, or out of, say, the weep hole or the water pump if it's starting to go bad and you have a front seal going bad. So that's 2 of the things to look for, and you can certainly tell the difference between antifreeze and the condensation. The color condensation obviously will be clear, and the color of your antifreeze could be anywhere from an orange to a green. And I'm going to show you, this is the timing chain cover that we got here, and I'll tip this down just a bit. And what we have are, this is the area in which the water pump circulates, and of course these are your water jackets in and out respectively. Okay, and all the way around here is a rubber seal to seal this water pump off from the rest of the engine. Okay, that way it gets back to where it's going in circulation. One of the big things you want to look for also, if you hear kind of a little bit of a rattling noise, or a scraping noise, a lot of times your impeller can come loose and it can roll, it can turn and grind against the inside of this cover. So that's one of those things you want to look for in the event that perhaps that should rear its ugly head for you. So I'm going to set this to the side, and now I'm going to pick up my water pump. Okay, again, this is the back side of the water pump, and you can see the impeller. This one here happens to be a phenolic plastic type, and it probably wouldn't make a whole lot of noise if it did in fact come loose, because of the softer material. You'll have some of the water pumps that will have a metal impeller, and you can physically see where they'll grind away. Now this one here, should it come loose, it will definitely wear on the inside of that timing cover, and you'd be able to see where it was touching. But for the most part, this wouldn't leave any fragments or make too much noise due to the softness of the material. And as you can see up here, we also have our thermostat, which is built within the unit itself. Anytime you've got a water pump or something off like that, you're going to have to take either the hose off or the thermostat out, either way. So it's a good thing to replace the thermostat at the same time, since you're that far into the engine anyway. So biggest deal is to make sure your mating surfaces are clear, and say the timing cover's nice and clean. They're both aluminum, so you don't want to use anything too aggressive, so you would nick the aluminum and cause it to leak on itself, even with the new pump in. And this is a rubber gasket, and it requires no sealant, so you don't have to worry about that. For me, I'll put something in there to help adhere a little bit. It's not like it's holding a lot of weight, but it'll also help fill in any micro scratches or something that might be in there. But this is the water pump for it, and these things are quite a little bit of work to take off when you've got them in, especially in like a 2500 Dodge Ram, where you're reaching over it on a four-wheel drive and you're trying to work on it. But as I was saying, this is pretty much how it goes, and it'll set on the housing just like this. And again, you have your weep hole in the top, and you also have a weep hole at the bottom. So you can, again, it's one of those things you want to be very careful with. Don't worry about the pulley that's on it, because this pulley will come with the next water pump. These are pressed on, and you cannot take them off. So when you buy a core, you may not get this coolant pipe with it. That's one thing you'll have to take off, which can be easily removed, and any other ancillary pieces that go with it. So again, when you replace a water pump, make sure and check all your hoses for any bulging, if they're getting hard. If you can see any areas where they may be dry cracked, especially if they got some age on them. It's just one of those things you should do to ensure that your cooling system's working well. And if you ever question whether the water pump or anything is leaking, you can always pressure check the system with a coolant system pressure tester. And what you're doing is just putting in a light amount of pressure, not a great amount, because most of the cooling systems today have anywhere from a 16 to maybe 18 pound cap on them, which allows the coolant to run at a higher temperature before it boils. So that's pretty much the down and dirty of the water pump change out. And like I said, we are just doing this off a mock-up engine we have here that we have for tearing apart and putting back together for schooling purposes. So I just kind of wanted to explain that to you, and I appreciate you watching, and I hope it was helpful. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.